December 5, 1945. 5 military bombers lift off into a clear sky. None of them would ever return. This is the chilling story of Flight 19, the tragedy that birthed the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. It was a routine training mission. 14 experienced airmen, led by a highly decorated flight instructor. Their mission was simple: fly east from Florida, practice bombing runs, and return before sunset. For the first 2 hours, everything went exactly according to the plan. The weather was absolutely perfect. The planes successfully dropped their practice bombs and turned around to head back home. But suddenly, at 3:40 p.m., the control tower received a frantic, confusing radio message. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, sounded deeply panicked and disoriented. He radioed, calling tower. "This is an emergency. We seem to be off course. We cannot see land." The tower controller was shocked. He asked for their exact position, but the reply was terrifying. Taylor responded, "We cannot be sure where we are. Everything looks wrong. Even the ocean looks strange." Back at the base, operators tried to guide them, but the plane's navigation systems had completely failed. Lieutenant Taylor's compasses were broken. He mistakenly believed they were over the Gulf of Mexico instead of the Atlantic. Because of this fatal error, he ordered his fleet to fly deeper and deeper into the deadly open ocean. As the sun began to set, the temperature dropped, the wind picked up, and darkness started to swallow Flight 19. By 5 p.m., the situation in the sky had turned into a living nightmare. The other pilots in the flight began to panic, realizing their leader was completely lost. Radio intercepts caught a terrifying whisper from one of the students: "If we would just fly west, we would get home." But discipline held them back. They chose to follow their instructor, flying deeper into the trap. Meanwhile, on the ground, a massive rescue operation was frantically being put together. At 6:20 p.m., a giant Martin Mariner flying boat, carrying 13 rescue crew members, took off into the stormy night. Its mission was to locate Flight 19 before the bombers completely ran out of fuel. Back on the bombers, the fuel gauges were dangerously dropping closer and closer to empty. At 7:04 p.m., the last, chilling words of Lieutenant Taylor were picked up through the heavy static. He muttered, "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch when the first man drops below 10 gallons. Landing a heavy warplane on a pitch-black, stormy ocean is a guaranteed death sentence." After that broadcast, a sudden, dead silence fell over the radio waves. Flight 19 was gone. But the horror of that night was nowhere near over. Just 20 minutes after taking off, the giant rescue plane sent to save them also vanished from the radar. In a single evening, 6 military aircraft and 27 men had completely dissolved into thin air. As dawn broke on December 6th, the US military launched the largest peacetime rescue operation in history. Over 300 boats, airplanes, and submarines scoured more than 200,000 square miles of open sea. Rescuers even combed the deep, treacherous swamps of the Florida Everglades, praying for a crash landing. Day after day, investigators looked for floating debris, bright yellow life rafts, or oil slicks. But the ocean refused to yield a single clue. No wings, no tires, absolutely nothing was found. Soon, attention shifted to the mysterious disappearance of the Martin Mariner rescue plane. A merchant ship cruising off the coast of Florida reported seeing a shocking sight at 7:50 p.m. that night. The captain saw a terrifying flash of light in the sky, followed by a massive fireball. A giant sheet of flame leaped 100 feet into the air, burning violently for 10 long minutes. When the tanker arrived at the blast site, they found nothing but a vast pool of floating aviation fuel. The Martin Mariner was notoriously nicknamed by its own crews as the flying gas tank. It was prone to deadly gas leaks, where a single tiny spark could cause an instant mid-air explosion. This likely explained the fate of the rescue plane. But what about the 5 bombers of Flight 19? TBF Avengers were heavy steel warplanes. Once they hit the water, they would sink like a stone in seconds. The deepest trenches of the Atlantic Ocean lay directly beneath their final estimated path. After months of intense searching, the United States Navy officially closed the active rescue mission. A massive 500-page official Board of Investigation report was compiled to explain the tragedy. But instead of providing answers, the Navy's final conclusion shocked the public. The report officially stated that the cause of the disappearance was completely unknown. One investigator famously remarked, "They vanished as completely as if they had flown to Mars." Soon after, strange and unsettling rumors began to leak from the radio operators who worked that night. Some claimed that hours after the plane's fuel should have run completely dry, a weak signal was heard. The signal allegedly repeated the call letters of the flight leader: foot, foot, foot. Was it just an echo, a hoax, or were the planes somehow still flying in another dimension? Over the decades, many salvage teams thought they had finally solved the enduring riddle. In 1991, deep-sea explorers discovered the wrecks of 5 Avenger bombers sitting on the ocean floor. The world held its breath, believing Flight 19 had finally been found. But the truth was even weirder. Checks of the serial numbers revealed these were 5 different Navy planes that had crashed on separate dates. The ocean was filled with missing aircraft, but the actual 5 bombers of Flight 19 were nowhere to be seen. It was as if the Bermuda Triangle had deliberately hidden them away from the rest of the world. 8 decades have passed since that fateful December afternoon, and the disappearance remains absolute. Skeptics argue that a tragic combination of human error, broken compasses, and a dark storm caused the crash. They believe the planes simply ran out of fuel, ditched in the rough sea, and were torn apart by violent waves. But believers in the paranormal point to the bizarre details that logic simply cannot explain. Why did the highly experienced flight leader become so completely disoriented in a matter of minutes? And why did the ocean look so strangely white and glowing, as reported in the final radio calls? To this day, not a single body, watch, or piece of metal from those 14 men has ever washed ashore. Flight 19 remains the ultimate ghost story of the skies, the definitive mystery that built the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. What do you think happened to the lost fleet? Did they sink into the deep abyss, or did they cross into another world? Tell us your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more unsolved historical mysteries.